Hey guys, my name is Lauren, and I am today talking about the new Training Package Organizing Framework, or TPOF. So the TPOF has been out for a while now. It was released a few months ago, and it is the process that most of the JSCs, Jobs and Skills Councils, are using to redevelop training packages now. So we obviously have a lot of training packages that are currently going into review. I know that ICT is just about to go into review with Future Skills Organization. SAFSA is doing hairdressing, beauty, culinary, so like SIT, SIR, floristry, and I think a couple of creative dance units, community pharmacy as well. So those are all coming out. Obviously, FSO, Future Skills Organisation, has got quite a few coming out, but the biggest one is going to be the ICT update. So that takes into account telecommunications. Yes, telco, RTOs, we know that it changed last year, but that was literally just like an addition of a unit. And so there was no like dev work actually involved in that. Human ability is coming out with a range of them at the moment as well. So depending on what your scope is for your RTO, you should be subscribed first and foremost. So you should be subscribed on TGA to those particular training products so that you know when they update in TGA. You should also then use TGA to identify who your Jobs and Skills Council is. There are 10 Jobs and Skills Councils. And you should then go and subscribe to your Jobs and Skills Council for your industry area. Because what that's going to tell you is when your training package is coming up for review. So I'm going to share my screen now. I'm just going to go through a little bit about the TPOF process that I think is worthwhile for RTOs to understand. Points at which you guys can provide feedback on your training package, on units, on qualifications, and things like that. And I do think that's important because ultimately it's about being part of the solution, not part of the problem. So let me just share my screen and see if this is going to do it for me. Entire screen. Okay, beautiful. So this is kind of like the overarching process. And really the main two areas. So this whole process here is like around about 18 months. And they do have on a separate page, this is a publicly available document, they do have on a separate page the timelines that they recommend for each of them. But when they go into this phase here, there is some work. There's not a huge amount that's being done with RTOs at this particular point. But you know, there is some. And then here they've got a note about standing up a technical committee. And so as you know, most technical committees have a combination of industry and RTOs that are on it. And so, you know, particularly if it's something that you guys are very big in a particular space, it's worthwhile just tracking. And if a technical committee position comes up, you should definitely be applying for it if you want to have a really big say in, you know, in the direction on that training product. Okay. This stage here, this public and government consultation is the most important part because this is the part where the Jobs and Skills Council is actually going to probably go around to each state and do some face-to-face consultation. They'll be running lots of online sessions, but that's when they've actually released the draft training product. So this is when you actually get to like comment on, you know, the performance evidence, the knowledge evidence, the skills and everything like that. And you get to, you know, that's kind of your first sign as to whether or not you're going to be looking at like a major update or whether or not, you know, that starts to give you as an RTO the best idea is to like, okay, like let's think about when this training product gets released. I've got my 12 months. Am I going to need to apply for extra? You know, is this something where we need to be starting to think about, okay, well, this is actually going to be a longer teach out period. Isn't it an apprentice or a traineeship? Things like that. So it's well worthwhile actually taking a look at it, even if you're not going to provide feedback on the training product itself. Is that's at least going to give you an idea and start to have you thinking about, okay, do I need to start introducing my trainers to this? Do I need to start putting together a budget for redeveloping assessments, training materials, etc.? It's also where you can actually look at criteria and say removing them. And as I said, just below here, this is sort of the guideline as to what they recommend. For these are like minimum timeframes as far as as best I understand it. Okay, so the big change comes down to we have a new unit template. So I'm just going to go down to Control F, Option B. Why did that not come up? Control F, Option B. Let's just go down to here. Units of competency. Okay, here we go. All right. So some of you would have seen, some people are referring to this as the AS template, option B temp, whatever. Anyway, we have two templates that can come out. So here's our first template. And obviously, guys, this is all going to look very familiar. Unit code, unit title, application, elements, performance criteria, performance evidence, knowledge evidence, assessment conditions, mapping, right, etc. Okay, foundation skills, range of conditions. New template. Okay, so exactly the same under the assessment requirements, performance evidence, knowledge evidence, assessment conditions, mapping, yada, yada, yada. Nothing new here. Okay. However, as we will see, instead of elements, performance criteria, we have knowledge, skills, and application of knowledge and skills. So like that's where ASK has come from. So in this section here, okay, it's basically replacing the elements and performance criteria. So I've spoken to a lot of different people about this, and there's a lot of different interpretations. Some people love it, some people hate it, some people are meh. Look, I am an advocate for it. I will. I'm just going to put my bias out there right away. The reason for that is that elements and performance criteria were all, so this whole section here, the first part of the unit, my understanding of it, it was always written for industry, right? Whereas the assessment requirements are very much written specifically for RTOs. They're about the evidence that you need to collect of the unit. And my frustration used to come from the fact that, like, well, that's great, but all of it's auditable. And so therefore all of it comes into audit. And they're just said there's always like a lot of duplication between these two sections. It can be frustrating when there's things in the elements and performance criteria that are not in the performance evidence and knowledge evidence. And generally, like I absolutely love the vet system that they have in Singapore because they really get their units nice and compact. And in Australia, our units over the years have just gotten bigger and bigger and bigger. And then, you know, a couple of years ago, we released new frameworks and it was supposed to make everything like streamlined. Like, you know, for those of you that have been in the industry for a long time, we had streamlined units of competency. And the idea was that everything was going to get smaller and like more focused. And so this section was always supposed to be about explaining to industry sort of what that was supposed to be like. And so at the moment, there's a lot of there's some JSCs that are using this template. There are some that are sticking to the elements and performance criteria. There's various reasons for that, you know, I can appreciate. You know, if you're only updating a couple of units, it makes more sense to stay with a consistent template. And ultimately, JSCs are guided by what their industry says. So like if a particular industry says we want to keep everything the same, keep everything the same. If an industry says, hey, let's try something different, you can try something different. But I think the reality of this, just having a look across a lot of different jobs and skills councils and some of the products that they're releasing, you've got a lot of different interpretations of what this particular template is going to look like. What that does mean is that for RTOs, you're going to actually have potentially like maybe 2 or 3 or 4 different looks for your units that you're going to be rolling out, just depending on like the size and scope of your RTO. Trainers and assessors, to some extent, I find struggle with understanding and just looking and interpreting units of competency as it is. So the fact that we're going to make this broader, I think obviously TAE providers need to start taking that on board. It's to like, you know, just prepping students to understand that there is going to be different templates that are going to be out there. I also think it's an incredible opportunity for RTOs to be able to have a say and provide feedback work with industry and kind of go, okay, well, what do we want? Do we want our units to look smaller and like tighter in terms of skills? Do we need certain units to be bigger? Like maybe they're a prerequisite or like a foundational unit in a qualification. And so this is a good opportunity for you guys to actually have some feedback on that. And as I said, go and jump on board to your FSOs, to your JSCs, Jobs and Skills Councils. I say FSO because FSO is one of them. There's like FSO, there's PSO, there's SAXA, there's human ability. There's a whole bunch depending on your thing. And what I will do is I will link to the Jobs and Skills Councils below, and I will also link to this Training Package Organising Framework. So have a quick, like if you're a compliance person, I think it's worthwhile having a read through of this document. If you are a curriculum developer, as I said, you need to be signed up for TGA, you need to be signed up for your JSC to know whether or not a training package is coming up. I think as a trainer as well, it's very worthwhile. So looking at some of the different training packages that are rolling out, there's a lot of like really cool feedback being received from trainers that I can see, whereby you guys are the industry people. So, I guess the role I see for RTOs in sort of the training package development process is that if industry says here's a skill and a knowledge that we need you guys to be training better, one, that's an opportunity for you to take that on board as an RTO. But two, it's also important that you're working with industry to say, okay, well, if this is a skill that we want to deliver, like how are we actually going to do that? So, if it requires a piece of equipment being brought in, is that a piece of equipment that's, readily available in the workplace? Is that a scenario that's readily available in the workplace? If it's on a particular, skill, maybe that skill is related to a product, is that going to date really quickly? Is one of the questions that I think it's worthwhile for RTOs to be thinking about. Is it something that's going to be able to be delivered for students that are regional and for city, regional, and remote students alike? Is it something that is going to be easy to be delivered for, is it going to help meet a particular need, right? Like there's a really like a burgeoning and an emerging skill set. And, so some of the things that I know that are being looked at the moment, like AI skills across everything and, cyber skills across everything. And so, obviously these areas have a massive impact on us. What are the areas that we actually want to see that incorporating in? Like, what are the areas that we want to see industry upskilling in? Is there new legislation that we need to be taking into account? Are there those little bits and pieces in the training packages that is just a massive bugbear? So ICT is a great example of this. We worked with one of our RTOs and trainers the other day to go through the open registration unit and pull out all of the criteria that we know is now out of date, techniques that aren't used anymore, equipment that's not used anymore, terminology that's not used anymore, and we put that feedback through to the industry training council, to the industry jobs and skills council. I am sorry, guys, it's just too much terminology here. We put that feedback through to FSO, who is the Jobs and Skills Council for the ICT training package. And we basically said, well, look, these are the things that we would like to see. And that's not going to be like the end point of what it ends up in, but it means that hopefully we can get some of those things either pulled out or added in so that the unit is more relevant for that particular RTO to be able to teach. So these are the sorts of things that they're very worthwhile activities. Like if you're a hospitality college at the moment, jump on board, take a look at the new Cert 3 cookery, Cert 3 patisserie. Have your trainers go through and go, okay, well, look, like, let's think about what are the recipes that we're using now? Are those recipes going to make sense? If you're working in human ability and some of those CHC, HLT training packages, go on, take a look at the new training products that have been launched and go like, are those the right skills? Is delivering that skill going to be problematic? Is meeting that performance evidence going to be problematic? Can we make some minor changes and tweaks to that to make that a lot more workable for industry, for the students, things like that. So I think all of those are obviously very worthwhile activities. They're also I believe that they're very good activities in terms of professional development for your for the trainers in your RTO. So it's actually a really nice opportunity for curriculum development to come and work with your trainers, to be able to provide feedback and put them both on the same side of the table, and, allow them to work together and to build that relationship, because it just, often that can be an area of butting heads. And so it's a good opportunity for them to be able to be working together as well. And it should be going onto your quality register as part of your professional development, as part of your contributing to industry and things like that. So that's it from me, guys. That's my little ramble on the new training package organizing framework. As I said, I will link to the Jobs and Skills Council below. I will link to the training package organizing framework below. If you have any questions, by all means, put them into the chat and I will do my utter best to refer you to the right place and the right source of information. Otherwise, I hope you guys have found this helpful. Don't forget, we do have our CEO Sweet Spot series starting up in the next couple of weeks. If you have a question as a CEO that you think would make a great podcast, can you email it through to us? You can email it to me, myself, Lauren at Anawaya, or Laura at anawaya.org. And we will add that onto our list. We're going to be covering all manner of things in terms of like finance and people management and recruiting and marketing and, quality, risk management, governance, all of those sorts of things. But I want to hear your guys' recommendations and suggestions on that as well. I hope you guys have an amazing day. My name is Lauren for Anawaya Education Services.